Because of this planet's place in the heavens, this means that you probably have bipolar disorder. You're not in the position to be giving that kind of advice or suggestion, and just not, it's not an appropriate thing to do. I think it's just not the purpose of astrology.
Well, you should have known better. You should have known better. Oh, dear Icarus, you should check the weather. Should check the weather. Oh, dear.
Because you can tell when there's a sort of laziness in a judgment with different practitioners, and you can kind of tell who knows their stuff and who really doesn't. So I think that there are some dangerous misuses of that by people practicing it who might not know what they're doing, because people who come to you for a reading, it's a very fragile position to be someone getting a reading or getting spiritual insight, even if you're skeptical, because there is this like psychological power. There's this power difference between the person getting the reading and the person giving the reading, because people tend to give power over to me, like when I have a client session. And sometimes they'll just sort of like kind of hang on my every word. And I'm a human being, you know, channeling like kind of complex information that I have to like distill down into a couple words. So you just want to make sure that you're not giving your power away when you go to someone to get spiritual insight, and you don't want to give your power away to, you know, perhaps like a column horoscope on the internet that said you're going to have a bad day today. And also, I think when astrologers or any metaphysician will give you advice, like you have to like give advice without giving advice, because if I'm kind of getting information in a reading that like, hey, like I feel like next month is going to be, might be more stressful around like work for you in your physical body, like health routine, that kind of thing. That's more to empower you to make better choices. And that's not me saying like, oh, you have some really strong 4 energy coming in next month. Well, I'd be scared of how much work you're going to get. I hope you're like, I'm not telling you to like worry about it all night long, about like what I said to you in that reading that's going to scare you, but to empower you to make better choices. So I think I went all over the place with that answer, but you just really want to be careful of the information that you're either receiving when you're getting a reading or reading, you know, a column on the internet, or what you are giving away as a practitioner.
I have trouble with some, you know, pop culture astrologers or out there on social media that one sign is better than another sign. That I don't vibe with at all. We are all every sign. It's like turning up a radio dial to each frequency of how much of each sign are we manifesting in our lives. And nobody has the same birth chart as you. Astrology is based on the moment you take your first breath. And unless you are a twin, and even if you are a twin, you took your first breaths a little bit apart, nobody is like you on the planet. And there is I struggle with the right and the wrong and the good and the bad language that astrologers apply to astrology. There's a lot of different forms and ways to practice it. I don't believe that astrologers should be predicting death, for example, of you or a loved one. And astrologers shouldn't be actually telling you what to do, who to marry. That is all up to you. I feel astrologers can help guide you, not even necessarily predict the future, but help you create the future. There is a positive and negative manifestation and vibration of everything in the birth chart. And what I would like to see, and I am seeing, that astrologers help everyone they come in contact with produce positive emotions, vibrations, positive things of the birth chart, and steer you in the right direction so you don't start going down rabbit holes of the negative things about astrology. For example, one of my favorite, easiest, I guess, examples for this is Pisces energy. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It symbolizes spirituality, universal love, consciousness, connection to the divine, connection to everyone around you. And in the negative vibration of Pisces, it is spirits, it is escapism, it is alcoholism. So we are all somewhere on that spectrum, if that makes sense. And it's up to us how we choose to manifest the different energies at our disposal. And that is where I think free will and free choice comes in. And nobody, astrologer or otherwise, should be telling you what to do, but hopefully steering you in the right direction to embrace your own divinity, embrace spirituality, and maybe not numb yourself if you are an empath, like most Pisces are, and learn how to incorporate these awesome energies that you were born with in the highest and most positive vibration possible.
I was out picking flowers. I had no concern for the hours.
Like assigning things to mental illness. So saying that just because at this particular time that you were born, because of this planet's place in the heavens, this means that you probably have bipolar disorder, or you probably have a narcissistic personality disorder, or whatever else it is you feel to attribute it to, because I think that's irresponsible and it can kind of freak people out. And in a way, I think it's honestly just kind of unethical. One other thing that I don't think is as common, but in other more specific focused fields of astrology and people that get into it will talk about astrology and death. And so I think in that case, it can be interesting to look at the chart of somebody at the time of their death or something, but I think you shouldn't be taking money from a client and saying, okay, so looking at your chart, I can see that you're probably going to die when you're 70 in a car accident, so make sure you're not in this place at this time, because that's just setting people up for a lifetime of anxiety, and that's not something you can actually really predict because the world doesn't exactly work that way. I think probably because those are my two biggest ones. But I think with the mental illness part, that kind of bothers me in the same capacity as people who say that you don't need your medication, you can just go outside and be in nature and that'll help cure your depression and whatever. I think it's just, you're not in the position to be giving that kind of advice or suggestion, and just not, it's not an appropriate thing to do. I think it's just not the purpose of astrology.
I need you to understand that just to sit in silence with you, catch shadows in our hands, enough to bring me back to the truth. And I never feel at home with any other color but you. I have such heavy bones with the weight of what I cannot undo, what I would do. So here I stand, forsaken, left, the edge of something